Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and today we're going to be doing a bookshelf tour and a bookshelf declutter. Let me start by giving you a little bit of background information about what my husband and I are doing. So recently I've become a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of clutter that is in my house. I mean, my husband and I, we have a fairly high tolerance for clutter, and fortunately for us, or maybe unfortunately, I don't know, we both have a similar tolerance for clutter. So things start to build up over time. We like to collect things and buy things, and then as what's happened recently with me, there kind of comes to a point where we start to feel a little bit overwhelmed, especially within certain categories, and then we decide to declutter. I've read Marie Kondo's the Magic of Tidying Up, or whatever the book name is, because I can never remember that title exactly. But I've read books about the KonMari process. I understand the idea of thinking things out loud before you get rid of them, and I do really kind of like that idea, even though it seems a little bit silly at first. I also understand the idea of going through your house by category rather than by room. So that way you can really kind of see the magnitude of how much stuff that you have within a certain category, and that can help with the decluttering or tidying up process. However, in doing those categories, it can be overwhelming because you feel like your house is still such a mess. And I know a lot of people feel that way. I also don't really have time to go through all of the different categories. I'll be honest, I'm stuck on paper because I have a lot of paper related things because of planning, and just because I'm a teacher and I like planning, and so does my husband, who's also a teacher, and so we collect a lot of papers. My point is that we decided to go a slightly different route. My husband has heard of this idea of an unpacking party, where it's basically you get a whole bunch of boxes and you take a room and you pack everything into it as if you're going to move. We're not actually moving, but then what we're going to do is deep clean all of the surfaces in our house or in that room, and then unpack things. And the things that should come out of the boxes first are the things that we absolutely need in order to live in our house comfortably, or just live in our house. And then the next things would be the items that are most important to us, the ones that we want to prioritize as first. And then hopefully the items that come towards the end of this process, those are the ones where we can really kind of make a decision on if we want to keep them or not, or we look at them outside of the context of wherever it used to be sitting. We can actually see it in the box and say, you know what, I really don't need that anymore. So that's what we've done with our living room. So far, we've just gotten the living room done. We're working on the kitchen right now. I'm actually really happy with the process, because what it's allowed us to do is, because the whole room is cleared, we've now had a chance to kind of go back and rearrange our furniture. Like these shelves right here, this is the first time that we've actually moved the shelves to different levels to better fit the items that we want to place on the shelves. I know it's really like, why didn't we do this 6 years ago when we first moved in? But at the time we were just busy like wanting to move in and get all our stuff unpacked. Now we have the time to actually go back and really customize our home, like really tailor it to our needs and our wants. So I'm super excited about this process. As we're going through the living room, we have a big selection. Our bookshelves are basically full of three things. Board games is one, books is another, and then like small like collectibles and trinkets, like you can kind of see here, and you can kind of see a couple things here. So we went through the board games, we were going through kind of the like collectibles and stuff, and then as I was doing books, because most of them are my books, I was like, oh, maybe I should film a declutter of this. Now, by the time I had done that, I had already kind of made my decision on the books, and I thought the process itself was probably a little bit boring. So I'm going to show you, I think, 3 different clips. The first clip is going to be what the shelf looked like immediately after I had unpacked all of the books that I wanted to keep, or most of the books that I wanted to keep. The bookshelf still looks a little bit unorganized because it is. The second clip is a final look at the completed bookshelf, and that's where I'll give you the tour. And then the third clip will be all the items that I ended up decluttering, or at least all of the book items that I ended up decluttering. So that'll be at the end. So now that I've gone through this long introduction, I hope that you enjoy the video, and thanks for watching. So here's our shelves, and here's where all of our books are right now. I'll show you the whole set of shelves. That's really hard to say. As you can see, we really love board games and decided to devote 4 shelves to all of our board games. This isn't the final setup. We're gonna do some rearrangement, but those are all our games. And right here we have my kind of books so far. And then here's kind of more of a combination of our books, and then wedding picture, and then some trinkets. So this is my shelf up here. All right, here is a look at our finished bookshelf. So I'll just start over here. So over here on this far left bookshelf, we have kind of some trinkets and things that are important to us. All of our stuffed animals, we moved them from the couches to the shelf. And then our board games, we moved around and put on this shelf. Down here, these 2 bottom shelves are mostly mine. There are a couple of my husband's, but they're mostly my books. That's some kind of things to remember my dad. And then more board games, my husband's lightsaber, and Lego set. And then on this far shelf, I'm gonna see if I can not trip over any boxes. We have all of my Sailor Moon books and the Immortals series by Tamora Pierce, which is the first series I read by Tamora Pierce, and that's probably one of my favorites. Some more kind of like trinkets and like collectibles. These are mostly my husband's stuff. And then wedding pictures and wedding stuff. And then these books are mostly my husband's, but some of them are also mine, especially when we get to the like recipe books. And then some of the books down here are kind of our larger, oversized books. So I'll show you a close-up of my shelves. So here's an overview of kind of the first shelf. This first shelf is kind of like a slight memorial to my father. That's my father and me in that picture there. Those books, Hardy Boys books, are originally from him, from my great-grandmother, so I decided to keep those. It's the first 7 in the series. I'm not going to keep any other ones past that. And then here's the first shelf of books that's fully mine. I would say about half of these books I've read. Many of them I haven't. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of a little bit overwhelmed at the amount of books that I have on my shelf that I haven't read. So like all the George R.R. Martin, the Game of Thrones series, I haven't read any of those. The Woman in Cabin 10, Red Rising, Hollow City, The Book of Air and Shadows, I haven't read any of those. The Inferno I haven't read, but I want to read them, and so that's why I keep them on my shelf. I kind of feel like if I have them, then it's like if I get rid of them and then I end up getting them from the library and reading them, I'm kind of like, what's the point? Because I had them with me originally, but then I end up not reading them. I have read all of the Lord of the Rings, Tolkien series, and the Silmarillion. I just haven't read the Unfinished Tales. Haven't read any of the Sarah J. Maas that I have, or the Fairy Ring. This Tamora Pierce, The Tortall, A Spy's Guide, I haven't read yet, but I did just get that one. 1Q84, I'm kind of torn about. I did read it, and I remember liking it, but I don't think it's a book I like enough to want to keep. But I kind of feel like I want to read it again to make sure. And then House of Leaves is the book that I have started like 5 times and can never finish. Over here I have some crossword puzzle books down kind of here. I really like crossword puzzle books, and then I have some coloring books. And then these last 6 books on the left are Calvin and Hobbes collection books. So those are the shelves that are pretty much mine. Then over here we have some kind of shared shelves. So some of the cookbooks, the Sonia Sotomayor autobiography is mine. And then kind of some oversized books. So the Alexander McQueen, Savage Beauty exhibit book is mine. And I don't think any of mine are on that. I think those are all my husband's. So anyway, those are the shelves. Now I'll go ahead and take you to where the books are that I'm going to be getting rid of. Here are all the books that we're going to be getting rid of. As you can see, I've already packed them up because I packed them the night before, and then I remembered that I wanted to film this, so here they are. These I'll try to minimize how much hand you see. But as you can see, I have some crossword books and some coloring books that I decided I didn't want. The Universe in a Nutshell by Stephen Hawking. Some of these are books from my father's collection that I inherited that I decided I'm just not going to read, so Stephen Hawking's one of them. Another one is this one, is it Euclid and Archimedes? Basically, this is a mathematics book. And then this one, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. That one seemed kind of cool, but these are both from my father. I kept this originally because it's an older book in good condition, and this one because it was interesting, but I'm never actually going to read them. They don't really interest me. This one, I was looking through it, and it's actually from a public library, I think from Arkansas, where my parents lived like a really, really long time ago. So I don't even think that my dad, this doesn't really have a whole lot of significant meaning other than my dad liked math, and so he probably picked it up from like a library book sale. But because it wasn't passed down in the family like some of the other older books are that we have, I decided to go ahead and get rid of that one. I'm getting rid of these two Calvin and Hobbes books, The Revenge of the Babysat, and then Something Under the Bed is Drooling. They're a little bit worn and kind of this one's a different color there, so I decided to get rid of them and keep a few of the other books. I think I mentioned this in when I was showing you the shelf, but this is book 46 in the Hardy Boy series, and since it doesn't fit within the chronological order or numerical order of the series, I have books 1 through 7, and this one kind of sticks out, so I decided to get rid of that. Here's an old mythology book I'm getting rid of. This is a book from work from a long time ago that I still have. I'm just going to get rid of. The complete works of Lewis Carroll I thought was really cool originally, and I kept this for a really long time because it has Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, and I wanted to keep this because of that. But then Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass is only this much of the book, and so everything else is all of his other works, short stories and prose, not prose, poetry and stuff, and whatever else he did. And I'm just not interested in that, so I'm going to get rid of it. This one, The Shadow of the Wind, if you've watched my other reading videos, this has been on my TBR list for a couple of months, but I've actually had this book for several years. I'm getting rid of it. I've tried reading it twice. I mean, it is a New York Times bestseller. I've heard some really good reviews from it. I just can't get into it. I don't know if it's the way it's translated or I'm just not able to get into the characters. Maybe I need to read a little bit more, but I've tried twice, and both times I've put it down. So it's going to go. This is another coloring book. This is actually the first coloring book that I got. I got it in Montreal, which is why it's in French, and it's Papillon, or Butterfly. But if you look at the designs, they're just so tiny that even a fine tipped marker or a really, really sharpened color pencil, I don't feel like it would be easy to color. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Here, this is just a book about changing your habits. I picked up from a secondhand bookstore. So I'm going to get rid of this one. This is a random sleep book, The Sleep Revolution. I don't know, I picked that up randomly. That Malcolm X book is my husband's that we decided to get rid of. Some books from teaching, The last two that are mine that I'm getting rid of are these other Calvin and Hobbes books. So the days are just packed, and there's treasure everywhere. I want to collect all the Calvin and Hobbes books, and I think for a while Barnes & Noble had a 25th or 30 or something anniversary treasury set, which I thought was really cool and wanted to get, but I lost my train of thought actually. These I'm not going to keep because they're just old and starting to discolor, and they have been well loved. I definitely read them a ton when I was younger and reread them over and over again, and I'm ready to pass those on. So those are all the books that I'm getting rid of. So that was my bookshelf tour and declutter video. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear any comments you have about the books, the board games, the decluttering process that we're going through. I'm interested to know if you're going through a similar kind of decluttering process, or if you've tried something similar and what's worked or hasn't worked for you. Anyway, leave all those comments down below and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more of my videos, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!